DATEDIF function is a hidden function in Excel. This function calculates the difference between two dates. I have referred this function as hidden because for some reasons Microsoft has decided not to document this function anymore. But this function is very useful in many ways. The syntax of the DATEDIF function is here. This function takes three arguments: start date, int date, and unit. The function returns value based on the unit argument. If you use y as the unit argument, the function will return the difference between two dates in complete years. If you use m as the unit argument, the function will return the difference between two dates in complete months. If you use d, the function will return the difference between two dates in complete days. If you use md as the unit argument, the function returns the rest of the days after calculating the complete years and months between start date and int date. If you use ym, the function returns the rest complete months after calculating the complete years between start date and int date. And finally, if you use yd, the function returns the rest of the days after calculating the complete years between the start date and int date. I am pretty sure that you are not clear what I am talking about. No worry, I shall use enough examples to make you understand the concept very clearly. Look at the first example. Start date is 15th April 2012. Int date is 24 August 2014. Remember one thing, the int date will always be greater than the start date. Select the cell under Y. I am going to find out the complete years between the start date and the int date. Without using formula, you can calculate the complete years between these two dates. The difference between these two dates in complete years is 2. Let's use the formula now. Input equal sign, type date. The drop-down list does not show any DATEDIF function. The reason is this function is not documented in Excel anymore. For this reason, I mentioned this function as a hidden function. So you have to type the full function name. I type if, opening bracket, DATEDIF function is now showing, but the argument list is blank. Now I select the start date, place comma, then int date, again place comma, type y in double quotation mark. Y might be in uppercase or in lowercase. They are the same thing. Place closing bracket at the end of the function. Now I press return. You see, as expected, the difference between these two dates in complete years is 2. Let's find out the total months between these two dates. Select the cell under M, input equal sign, type DATEDIF, place opening bracket, select start date, comma, int date, comma. I can type M in double quotation mark, but this time I select this M cell, place closing bracket, press return. The result is there are total 28 months between these two dates. Now I am pretty sure that you have started to understand the DATEDIF function. In this way, you can find out the total number of days between the start date and the end date. Select the cell under D column, input equal sign, type DATEDIF, opening bracket, select start date, place comma, select int date, again place comma, and this time I type D in double quotation mark. Press return. The result is total 861 days. Working with YMD was simple. Let's now understand the complex part where the unit arguments are MD, YM, and YD. You know there are three parts of a date: year part, month part, and the day part. When you use MD as the unit argument, you will get the rest of the days after calculating the complete years and months between start date and end date. It is actually the difference between the day parts of the end date and start date. For this example, day part of the start date is 15, day part of end date is 24. So the difference between the day parts is 24 minus 15 equal to 9. So the result should be 9. Let's use the formula now. Input equal sign, type DATEDIF, opening bracket, select start date, comma, select int date, comma, place MD in double quotation mark, and finally place the closing bracket. Press return. You see the result is 9. So I think you have understood the difference between D and MD as unit argument. Let's now cover one more example using MD as unit argument. I just copy the formula in the next cell in the same column. You see the result is 22. In this example, the day part 17 of int date is smaller than the day part 25 of start date. So how the calculation happens for this example? To make you understand clearly, I organized the dates in this way. Int date is placed above the start date. You see, day part of int date is smaller than the day part of the start date. This part is May 17. If I take full April month and this part, then total days are 30 plus 17 is 47. 30 as April month has 30 days. 47 minus 25 is 22. You see, the result is 22. If I change the month from May to June, what should be the result? Can you guess? Press return. You see, the result is 23. Why 23? Just think here June instead of May. Then 17 days of June and 31 days of May will make total 48 days. You know, May month has 31 days. Then 48 minus 25 is 23. So the result is 23. I guess you have understood the concept clearly. Now let's find out the YM for the first example. YM returns the rest complete months after calculating the complete years between start date and int date. It is actually the difference between the month parts of the int and start dates. Input equal sign, type DATEDIF, opening bracket, select start date, place comma, select int date, again place comma and place YM in double quotation mark. You see, the result is 4. As from April to August, there are total 4 months, May, June, July and August. This is straightforward as the day part of the int date is greater than the day part of the start date and the month part of the int date is greater than the month part of the start date. I copy the formula in the next cell. The result is 3. Between January to May, there are total 4 months, February, March, April and May. But in between January 25 and May 17, there are not 4 complete months. There are 3 complete months between them. So the result is 3. Let's now use the YD argument in the DATEDIF function. YD returns the rest of the days after calculating the complete years between start date and int date. Input equal sign at the first cell of the YD column. Type DATEDIF, opening bracket, select start date, place comma, select int date, again place comma, input YD in double quotation mark. Press return. You see, the result is 131. I copy the formula in the cell below. The next cell shows the value 113. So after calculating the complete years between start date and int date, the remaining days are 131 for these 2 dates and 113 for these 2 dates. At this point, I hope that the basic concept of the DATEDIF function is clear to you. Now let's see 2 practical examples in use. The first example is suppressing zero value components. This column is start date, this column is int date, and this column shows the difference between start date and int date in years, months and days. The first cell shows 0 years, 0 months and 18 days. It is not a good idea to show 0 values. For the first cell, I have used this typical formula, DATEDIF function, to find out the complete years between dates, then have used the concatenation ampersand to show years text, then again used ampersand, and then used the DATEDIF function to find out the rest months after calculating the complete years. Then used again ampersand to show the month text, and then used ampersand again, and finally used this DATEDIF function to show the rest of the days after calculating the complete months and years. But it might happen that years and months will be 0 like here. And it does not look professional to show 0 in this way. In the next cell, I have used if function to suppress the 0 values. Here is the formula. If the first DATEDIF function generates 0, then it will show nothing in the cell. If it is not 0, then general calculation will happen to find out the years between given dates. I have used if in the same way for the next DATEDIF functions. I copy the formula for other cells. You see, this cell shows only years, this cell shows only months, and this cell shows only days. This is really nice. Now I will show you how you can calculate the age of a person. Here is the date of birth of a person. The date of today is empty. Just input today function into the cell with an equal sign. Today function does not take any argument and shows the current date. To calculate the age, just copy this formula and paste into this cell. You see, you get the age of the person. Though DATEDIF function is a hidden function, but it has so many uses. This is how you can use DATEDIF function effectively. These are the key takeaways from this lecture. You will get the downloadable copy of it with the exercise files and also in the lecture resources window. This summary will help you to grab the overall discussion of the video, print it or use it in your own way.